Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Make Love Easy podcast. It's funny, I have two podcasts. I had to interrupt my thought process that tried to introduce the other one, and I was like, no, that's not the name of this one. Um, I have a friend, a colleague who I respect and who I have felt power and subtlety and sensitivity and love from. And we've also had a journey of like discovering each other and healthy boundaries and
Oh yeah.
needs and desires and communication. And it is my great honor, privilege, and pleasure to introduce him to you all in the audience. If I could say let's stand up to give a warm welcome, we'd all be clapping, but I'll just be the one to clap. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I am truly glad to be here, and I truly wish everyone listening could have just heard the beautiful prayer that Lewis brought in beforehand to really dedicate this conversation to something greater than us, to something in service to something beyond the little wills of men, let's say. And so I'm just so pleased to be here and excited, truly excited for this conversation, brother. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So let's make it your show for at least a couple minutes. Like, what's your story of becoming? Well, I like to call it the superhero origin story of becoming the
Ooh,
servant of people and the coach and leader that you are.
I love that. Well, I'm going to share something that I've never shared before, that I've never said because I thought people would think I was crazy. And who the fuck am I to presume to live my life as though I were an archangel in human form? Who would I be to presume that I could actually live my life to such a standard and such a degree? But I am named for the archangel himself, Mikael. The spelling of my name is unique thanks to my hippie mother and her beautiful spelling. And yeah, a few years ago in a meditation, this sort of presumptuous and audacious sort of thing just came into my frame. And it was like, what if it wasn't like you are or you should be, or it was none of that. It was just like, what if you started living your life as if you were an archangel in human form? What would that look like? And it began this sort of part research project, part almost acting exercise, because I studied theater in New York back in the day. And so this process of acting as if it's a really powerful way to create a character. So in a way, I stepped into this presumption and presupposition of what would that actually look like? What would who would I have to be, and who would I have to become, and how would I eat? What would I eat? How would I speak? How would I do the work that I do? And the work that I do is twofold, Lewis. As you've come to know, the work that I do is, on one hand, I work with men. I work with those like me to, I would say, to ignite, to celebrate, and to accelerate the conscious evolution of men and healthy masculinity across this planet in our lifetime. I can't think of anything that would be better than to have more men truly online to the essence of why they are actually here. And by that I mean to say why I came to planet Earth. Because I didn't come here to push paper for someone else's dream. I didn't come here to be a cog in someone else's wheel, though sacred service is a beautiful thing. But what I'm pointing to is that every single one of us has a divine and sacred purpose for coming here. And very few of us, in my experience, including myself for a long time, are actually living up to the potential of what we deep down in our hearts know we could be, because we're suffering its absence. And so I try to help men get to the bottom of what that is, that sacred purpose, what is there, how to work with the technology of brotherhood, and how to be and align ourselves in service to something greater than ourselves. So that's the first piece. That's the men's work. The second is what I call sacred union. It's the work of helping to end the battle of the sexes, to help heal the divide between men and women that has arisen for lots of reasons, some good, some bad. But to really, yeah, to help reanimate what I call the lost arts of sacred union, which in their simplicity is like conscious communication, intimacy skills, the things we should have been learning in school and didn't, and no one taught us. And we're all trying to do relationship. And the reality is we've had zero training for what people say is the most important thing in their life. Like when you ask people, the most common thing people say is my relationships. The people in my life are the most important thing. You've got some people like my bank account or my Bugatti, or it's like, okay, bro, whatever. But when you get to the bottom, it's the relationships that we have, and we've received no training in relationships. I mean, I took trigonometry for God's sakes in high school. I
Mhm.
think maybe it was something. I can't even remember the course, right? It's so wild that, and I like to put things in a positive frame, so I'm going to right now. It's so wild to me that humanity is doing as well as it is,
Mhm.
given the complete lack of training and skill sets for so many of these things that are the most important thing, arguably in the world. So that's a bit of me. I'm a big fan of ritual theater, rites of passage. I run a men's initiation group here in Austin called the King's Code. And I also do an Arthurian, what would you call it? Journey for men, from the Round Table to Excalibur to Guinevere to the Holy Grail, as a teaching story for men to help them get to the bottom of who it is they really are and what their true dharma is here in the world. Because in my experience, both for myself and for the men that I've worked with and that I've trained with and my mentors, there is just no substitute for truly living your authentic purpose in the world. It is the difference between heaven and hell. So I think I'll pause there. But yeah, thank you for the space to to announce myself in such ways.
You're so welcome. I love and am delighted at the story behind your name.
Mm,
And So there's a whole conversation about, casting Satan out of heaven, quoting Revelation 12, or guarding the body of Moses and fighting demons for it.
mm,
And
mm.
Prophet Jude. I mean, I love Saint Michael. He's freaking awesome.
So
Now that
much
shows my
smaller.
Catholic upbringing to call
Do you
it
know? Do you know what his name means? What the translation is of his name?
like God is great or God is victorious or something.
It's close. It's often misquoted, and it's generally misunderstood because it's not actually a statement, it's a question. His name is a question.
Who is like unto God, right?
Yes. Who
Yeah.
is like God? Yeah. It's not like he who is like God, or he is like, no, no, no. It's his name literally is who is like God, as a question. Think about that. And I only learned that this year, and I've been on a deep dive with this the actuality of the characterization or the authentic energetic being that this archangel, what an archangel is, and what this specific archangel could be. um and it's such a fascinating thing, man. It's such a fast. There in the Kabbalion, one of the deep alchemical works, which I'd be very shocked if you weren't somewhat familiar with. There's a statement that he who understands what is it? He who oh, bloody heck, I'm going to have to paraphrase it. He who It's something about understands the archangel understands the monad, and the monad is the idea of the unity of the entire universe, and that there's some like riddle, like a cone in that I've been sitting with in meditation for years. I actually have it on an index card on my altar of just sort of this thing to contemplate. So you and I, as you intimated, are just getting to know each other. I didn't know that you were riffing on some of these big bad boys that you just threw down on. So maybe there's a deeper conversation we can have on some of these at some point, or we just, I don't know, go at it now. But I feel in very good hands here, brother. So
Oh
I
man,
can't.
honored to serve and to connect. And yeah, it's opening up this space. I mean, your name is an inquiry. Your name is an inquiry as it's like you're a standing invitation, who is like unto God. And then the question becomes, well, how do we wake up to that inside of us? Because I believe we're forces of nature. And
Yeah.
on the low side of that, the worst thing for a woman or for the world is for them to be stuck behind a man who is a parked car, not living his purpose or reaching
Yeah.
his highest potential, prosperity, possibility.
Absolutely, man.
So you in your very being and in your doing, I see it. One might read you as an encoded invitation into that waking up.
I
And
don't know that I've ever been more deeply honored, and so I thank you for that. And to the truth of what you just shared, one of the 10 presuppositions of neurolinguistic programming is that you cannot not communicate. And in these higher esoteric teachings, every human being, to put it in modern parlance, is I am literally a 24/7 Wi-Fi station broadcasting the frequency of who I am and who I believe myself to be and what I'm about, not just in word but in deed. And that is for the men that I work with, that's a big piece that we start to work on when we're learning to take responsibility for our reality bigger than ourself, where when you walk into a Starbucks, you are transmitting something and you have the capacity to live into it being a transmission of someone that opens the whole room, allows everyone to breathe deeper and feel relaxed in their nervous system without even knowing what you are doing.
Mhm.
And what a thing to understand or to aspire towards or to work with as men, because yeah, that's the I don't know if I want to qualify it as bad news, but that's the call up of like, yeah, you are impacting everyone around you, and as you fall, so too do they, and as you rise, so too do they. And so what happens when groups of us start to rise and come together and join forces and activate certain technologies that exist when two or more gather in the name of something greater than themselves. Let's put it in a more neutral parlance.
Just Christian enough so the people who know, they know and they get excited.
Yeah.
Not
Well,
Christian.
it's interesting because that I've found I'm gonna go have to go back and look because I've found iterations of that in different traditions, like different paraphrases of that same idea. When you come together with others in service of something greater than yourself, something else steps in to back you. It's like there's another force that comes behind you. And I guess you could probably break it down in quantum mechanics or in physics as just like the um, when there's energy and momentum that can respond either direction, that can go positive or negative in polarity or frequency. But yeah, yeah. That's wow. We're just dropping rabbit holes left and right, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, to bring it back to the men, right?
Yes.
I think it's it would be very difficult to and we know that like 130 or something men kill themselves in America every day
Oof.
because of isolation, alienation, depression, lack of social contact in part, and many other things. But like
Yeah.
I think in the modern age, not being aware of that highest potential or what I believe you would call God and reaching for that support, I believe that's a necessary part of the equation. I've been reading this book and
Yeah.
really like broken open by it, crying as I read through it. Of
Mm.
She was highly trained, like literary, philosophical, super smart, super sharp, uh, like deeply postmodern feminist, fighting for the healing of women's wombs and using,
Huh?
ayahuasca and peyote and all the different, cocktail of different New Age traditions, Tibetan Buddhism and Kundalini. And
Sure.
it's called You Are Mine. And her name is now, her name was Talitha, but her name is now Sister Anastasia because she's spending this whole journey uh, basically letting go of what she distinguishes as occult practices and sorcery and witchcraft and magic in the face of her lived, potent, specific, direct experience of divinity
Mm.
expressed through Christ in the Eastern Orthodox Christian tradition. And it's like, well, if I had the experiences that she had, I might believe what she does. I
Mm.
haven't, but I see
Mm.
why and how she could have this flip. And for me, when I started to have leaders like men around me who pointed beyond themselves, like
Yeah.
the Buddhist, the finger pointing to the moon, right?
Yes.
Pointing to, hey, there's an experience of love or truth or purpose that you can surrender into that is bigger than you, that was before you, that's more than you can know how to do. Um, and like that has been really nourishing for me and really supportive in dark times and really abundantly
Mm.
incredible in good times. So
Mm.
I don't know what your relationship with the word or the concept of God is, but or if that is synonymous to like finding your dharma and your purpose. But go ahead. Yeah. How can God serve
what,
men?
what a question, brother. What a question.
Well, who is
Um,
like unto God, right? I
who
mean,
is like God? Yeah, I likened unto God. Yeah, I mean, I live as though God exists. I think of Jung when he was asked, I don't believe in God. I know God is real.
huh.
Um, I've had a recent journey in the 12 steps, which is a truly I mean just a mystery tradition hiding in plain sight. Like it is remarkable.
My
And
intuition
I
actually told me to write 12 steps in the margins of my notes. I didn't know why, because I had a
there you
suspicion
go.
that was where we were
There
going.
you go.
Go
There
on,
you
please.
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the originator of that system, those 12 steps, famously had a conversation with Jung
Hmm.
around the efficacy of the work.
All right, you're quoting
Nice.
Jung.
I'm quoting Jung. Yeah,
The
that
audience
that
could not handle the truth, so we had to give up.
it's interesting, man. That happens a lot with me in
Yeah.
technology. It's almost like the I can predict it, like when I really start riffing on a piece of truth and I'm using notation, like I'll look down and the voice notation will have turned off and it won't have gotten any of the thing. It's really fascinating. I'm not sure if that's a story I'm creating in my own mind or what it is, but we were talking about something pretty potent and then you're ran out of disk space. Very interesting. But
It-
yeah, Jung, I mean, when the creators of the 12 steps brought it to Jung, he said, yes, without an individualized experience of the divine, addiction will win the day. And I really have come to see addiction as the result of the type of living that we're doing in the modern world, the communitylessness, the tribelessness, the loss of connection, and the way we're being raised as kids, where addiction is essentially alcohol or cocaine, or in my case, it's codependence, a codependent dynamic that was baked into my way of being very young, that has become a substitute for the thing that was the love I didn't get or the care I didn't get or the thing I needed most, that then is the bottomless pit that just things get dumped into. And my relationship with a higher power, which is what I love about the 12 steps, they organize it as coming to believe in a higher power as higher power appears to you. It's brilliant because you can be Muslim, you can be Jewish, you can be Christian, you can be atheist. It doesn't matter. It's so beautiful. And so learning to build a relationship with something greater than yourself necessarily humbles you and necessarily, for me at least, put me in the proper relationship with myself and something greater than myself. And ironically, it's not ironic, but it's part of the men's rite of passage is going from boy to man means necessarily being humbled, A, and B, learning to ask for help, learning to realize that you're not a superhero. You're not this. I think it's why these comic book movies are so popular. It's like you can't actually do it by yourself. You can't actually build that incredible business idea that you have. The idea of a self-made man is an insult to God. It's an insult to all of us. We're pack animals. We need each other. And there's something very vulnerable in that needing of each other and that needing of support. So we've created this self-reliance, this booby trap of self-reliance as men. And you see it in all of the wealthy influencers and all this stuff. You just need to work harder. You just need to do this. It's like, maybe. But for me, it's like, what are you doing it for? Because that's the thing that I don't know. I'm sure, Lewis, that you have a similar vein to how you work with men. It's like your bottom line is great, but like, why do you want the money? What is the lifestyle you're creating? How do you want to actually be living your life? And helping people design that as if you can somehow uh, live your purpose with, as we were joking before we hit record, some type of a code that comes through. The Make Love Easy code, right? I have the King's code that I work with, but that there's yeah, it's a big question you asked, and I don't want to get too all over the place, but for me, yeah, God is real, in the experiences that I have of a God that I believe transcends the masculine God or the feminine goddess bifurcation that we like to do in our world to make things palatable. Um, I believe in the both the masculine and feminine qualities of God and goddess, and what happens when the two become one, and that seems to be the invitation and the path that most of the world's traditions and spiritual teachers are pointing to in one way or another with slight variations of language. So, yeah, I'll leave it there.
I love this. I mean, yeah, I especially love in that last paragraph of yours, you're talking about how we make God more palpable by this bifurcation and split. And like
Yeah.
there's a scene in the book of Revelation where the Apostle John, who supposedly wrote the book, we're not certain,
Mm. Mm.
eats a scroll and it is initially sweet to taste, but it's bitter in his stomach. And
Mm.
I'd rather a God who is unpalatable to me to the degree that it convicts and cuts me open to letting go of my ego to a higher form of love than this little mammal knows how to do on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, you got to wrap God in bacon. Like the five levels of consciousness is something I could say. Like if you wrap God in bacon,
Yeah.
then they'll bite
Yeah.
into the bacon. And it's like, oh, there's something else in here that doesn't taste like all bunnies and rainbows, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
nourish me.
Yeah, and I think, for I work with men who are atheistic or agnostic, and it's like, well, then the definition of God that I work with is the highest ideal, the highest conceivable ideal that you that you can
Yeah,
come up with.
yeah.
And that will necessarily be limited because you have a limited finite mind. And one of the greatest thinkers in humankind famously said, the more I know, the more I come to know I know absolutely fucking nothing. I think that was Axl Rose, right? Guns N' Roses.
I thought you were quoting Socrates for a second there, and I was like, fucking was not an
Well,
adjective in ancient.
it's Plato actually. It is Plato. And
I
so
don't think
again,
he
it's
used the
like,
word fucking though.
well, no, I may have added a little something
Yeah,
there
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
just a
Okay.
little bit of humor there.
Former philosophy professor here, so I
Well,
respect
well,
the Greek.
then I shall respect the great ones and say that once Plato said, "The more I know, the more I know that I know nothing."
Actually, it was
To that degree, right? It's like, are you sure that was Socrates?
Plato quoting Socrates. Yeah, he's
Very good.
I
Plato,
know that I
thank you.
don't know.
Plato quoting Socrates. Very good.
It doesn't really matter. I mean, like what matters is what we do with what we learn.
Well, but this
Well,
to me feels like the perfect dance that you and I are in a way, and that we've been in since first meeting and then reconnecting, and sort of like the just the adding spice to a dish that someone else is cooking that ends up creating something flavorful and intense, but dare I say a pathway to uh, a delicious meal.
hmm.
Yeah.
There's so much. I'm already overflowing with different directions we could take this. I
Your
mean,
cup runneth over.
everything from loving your use of the word reanimate, like
Mm.
animation, like breathing life into
Yeah.
something, someone
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
dead, to, um, the two models of responsibility and reality that were the cliffhanger that led into this whole podcast is an idea. Maybe we'll come back to, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
where I think I want to go first is going back to this addiction thing. So
Mm.
the suffering and the lack of thriving of men
Yeah.
because they aren't aspiring to their highest purpose or
Yeah.
or surrendered to this highest expression. And I want to propose a model and I want to hear what you think of this model. And I'll be
Come
brief.
at me, bro. Yes, please.
So this is from Jonathan England in his book If I Die Before I Wake. He's got the five levels of consciousness. And it's been the best transformational map I've ever encountered. Like it explains so much, it categorizes so much so well.
Wow.
It kind of feels hierarchical and linear sometimes in a way that maybe is a little dangerous or imbalanced, but it still works. So there's level one, which is disorientation, where most of the world is living from a pool of poison and pain called big and little T trauma, unaware of how unaware they are, hoping for a magic pill or a savior to help them force their life conditions to match their blueprint so that they can get happiness, but honestly believing there's no hope. And the moment someone says, "Oh, life is no longer happening to me or at me, but it can happen by me, and I have
Mm,
non-trivial, relevant control over this thing, and I can take responsibility for it." When they say, "I'm 100% responsible for my reality," they enter level two, which is goal
mm,
oriented. Like, hey, I can create something. I can make a difference. I can make my life conditions match my blueprint. Now, in level one and two, they wouldn't call it blueprint. They just say this is what life should be. This is who I should aspire to be. The big house, the nice car, the great wife, the great life, the great sexual experience, all of the things.
mm,
And the problem with level two, however strong it makes people, is that while most people haven't activated their will towards a goal, like we don't know what most people are capable of because they just haven't stood up,
mm.
especially men trained
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
defang and
Yes.
walk around with
Yes.
empty balls and full stomachs. Like when in fact, full balls and an empty stomach would be enough to make us a threat to the delusions and illusions of modern life. So anyway, level two can devolve into this toxic masculine psychopathic mastermind game player. You see this in millionaires and billionaires who are trying to figure out the world so that they can get theirs over and above and to the exclusion of consideration for others. And then there's always this like have to, got to, must, struggle, stress, strain, fight, because at the other end of the rainbow, someday I will have all my life conditions match my blueprint and then I'll get happy. So it's future oriented, but
Yeah.
it's useful because we want to build something as a civilization, right? Even if it's get people to the other side of your initiation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's three more levels. I can see so much landing, and I see you taking notes too. This is great. So we can dance around this. This is my favorite distinction.
Oh, this is great, man. And what's the name of Jonathan England? Will you say the name of it again?
Yeah, it's the five levels of consciousness from his
Okay.
book, If I Die Before I Wake. And he's one of my best friends. He leads a spiritual community, self-sustainable off-grid village in Costa Rica that he was inspired by God to build, I believe. And he
Okay.
he's an amazing human being. He is still human, but anyway, so
Yeah.
that's where I come in. Is like, do you see
Mm,
this? And most of our conversations are long, apologetic kind of style,
yeah.
like arguments back and forth about the nature of spirituality and reality and God and Christ. And
Mm,
anyway,
mm.
level three is
Beautiful, man.
realization that there's nothing to be, do, or have. I can be, do, or have anything, and I'm whole, perfect, and complete right now. There's no blueprint I need to compare my life conditions to. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. If you realize how rich you are already, you are truly rich. This is like paraphrasing the Tao Te Ching. So you burn your blueprint, you're in the present. You're remembering now or reanimating the awareness inside of you that you're just here to remain present to the present of the present. Because no one goes to a movie just to see the final scene. They go
Mm,
to a movie to see every moment and every frame on the journey.
yeah.
And I think this is uncontroversial. You go ahead. We're still two more levels, but I can see it bubbling over in you.
Oh, go, man. Keep going. I mean, this is great. Yeah, keep
Okay.
going. Keep going.
Okay. Thank you, and you're welcome. So level three can turn into a peace prison. Like if somebody, I mean, one of the quintessential examples of level three is Eckhart Tolle living on park benches.
Mm,
Like, you don't actually need anything anymore. You can just go live in a monastery or on a mountain or just let life happen, trusting and knowing that all things are working for good and that you're going to get a gift. You're going to hear the gold in whatever happens. So, what would kick somebody out of level three? Well, if they realized, so a lot of people, they get samadhi, satori, kensho, they get blissful orgasms through tantric or Taoist practice, whatever. And then they embalm themselves in euphoria. They jump
mm,
themselves off with joy, and they bastardize their potential with bliss. Because you look at our ability to speak and hear and construct sentences like in the brain. Thought is a derivative activity on speech. We're here to create and understand in communication. And like you were pointing to about showing up in Starbucks, whether I know it, like it, agree with it, believe it or not, who I am is a standing wave of possibility and a frequency. I am a certain variety of medicine wherever and whenever I show up. And whether I own that and maximize and optimize the uplifting contribution that I am,
Mm.
because people are registering my presence neurologically, even if I'm just in the room. I mean, I can't help that. So what kind of signature am I leaving? What kind of presence am I creating? What kind of wake and ripples am I putting in people's brains and nervous systems? At the very least, that's like the scientific sounding level, right? There's the energetic and
Yeah.
the spiritual.
Yeah.
So if all things work for good and everything happens for a reason, then maybe so do we, and maybe so we are meant to. And if we then overflow, so the tricky part is you have to go through each level to get to the highest level. It's like Zelda or Mario or whatever. It's like an RPG where you pick up the skills and the tools. So a lot of people they touch bliss, but they don't fill up on it enough through direct experience that is consistent as an open channel to feel to really come from overflow. I've had moments where I can legit say I've come from freedom and bliss and openness, but there's stuff stacked still in my nervous system to release and remediate for, to let go of, so that I fully embody as a tuning fork tuned and calibrated to love with a capital L, the love that never leaves, the love that most don't perceive. And then at level 4, then I get to pursue my purpose because I'm overflowing. I'm not looking to get anything from anyone out here in the world. I, I'm not, I used to say codependence is thinking you're the bitch of the external world, thinking that you need someone to be some way in order for you to be okay. Yeah. Oh, she didn't fuck me this week. Oh, so she's your god and you're her little bitch. Like, no, no, you're actually resilient, you're anti-fragile, and you're infinitely capable. And at the level of
Oh,
soul, you're already whole. So you don't need another whole.
oh God. And you're saying this as someone who's actively in Coda, which is Codependence Anonymous. It's
Oh
great. Yes.
man. Yeah.
Fuck. That's totally what I was doing.
Okay, well, this is a whole thank you for being, I guess, teachable, coachable, whatever. Like I'm just riffing, but
That's just me, man. Yeah.
yeah, respect. Like it's
Uh,
it's a soul level thing. Now the nervous system is a different thing. The nervous system seems to need and want co-regulation. It seems to need and want communication, collaboration, connection, community on a regular basis, and we wither and die. You just look at that guy from Castaway, right? Relating to the Tom Hanks movie. He's got a ball named Wilson, and
yeah,
he's
the volleyball. Well, yeah, it turns out like, well, what's the worst punishment we give people?
solitary confinement.
Yeah, because we're social animals. We need each other. We're dependent on each other. And a lot of people that they don't want to be dependent on anyone because
Yep.
they were dependent on someone once and they got hurt. So
Yep.
now they don't want to, no, I'll do it all myself. It's like, okay, I guess, but like we we are literally cutting ourselves off from life itself, from all these possibilities in doing so.
Yeah, there was always only ever one of us here. And if we allow ourselves to hear the truth in that,
Mm.
then we'll be present not just as us, the isolated, alienated, atomic
Yeah.
consumer who's choosing what specific stuff to order on Amazon or what variety of bleach or soap to buy from Walmart, but instead as part of a global community, a global
Yeah.
like civilization. And yeah, in anthropology, Dunbar's number puts a limit on the number of people we can actually empathize with. Like there's something like 150 friendships we can
Yeah.
meaningfully, tangibly cognize or viscerally embody,
Yeah.
which is, I think, where Christ comes in, but we'll get there. It's kind of a solution to an anthropological problem. Um,
Fascinating.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so level 4 is living your purpose. Is like there's
Mm.
more than just me here, and what I give is what I get, and everyone's my mirror, and so let me give to the highest degree possible. Now, that's probably most people would say, oh, Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi and Buddha and Jesus. They were all obviously at least level 4. Like they were clearly committed to serving people, right? But you can't see the picture while you're inside of it. Life, this universe, these bodies, we can't see that picture while we're inside of it.
Mm.
There's a part we're meant to play, and this is where intuition comes in. Like I've had so many moments, and you tell me, I bet you've experienced this too, where if you allow something bigger and better, or you open yourself to allow something bigger and better to flow through you, then more can be made of you than just your little ego's mini me's
Yeah.
hope for intending support or service or contribution. And that I call God, that I call
Yes.
infinite intelligence or intuition. And
Yes,
that's
but
level
the
five.
problem, the problem with that, the problem from
So
the
many,
human
but
mind
yeah,
is that you can't control that.
correct.
And what if I'm crazy? What if I'm a crazy person? And God
100%.
starts telling me to take off my clothes and go wander down,
Yeah,
South Street, downtown, whatever it is. It's like that's where it gets interesting.
that's
That's where it gets interesting.
100%, man. And there's 100,000 different spiritual traditions or religion interpretations. There's 50,000 interpretations of Christian scripture. So which one is the one that we use as a criteria for determining?
Mine,
Yeah,
mine
yeah, right,
is.
right, right. I mean, like, I don't fucking know. I don't know. I would love to know. It'd be great.
Well, I would say that, for me, I would choose the one that enables me to live the best life I possibly can. And, it's like, what's the outcome of living in that way? It's like, well, okay, like I'm gonna talk some shit here. It's like, let's look at Catholicism as a version of Christianity.
Grew up Catholic. Mom is still Catholic, but
Yeah, no,
oh,
I listen. I love the rituals, man. I go to mass for Easter. I go to mass for Christmas, and I sit in there with these beautiful images that I understand deeply and feel like no one else wearing the robes actually does, because I sit there and suffer through these dead rituals that are just Amen, Padre, Filio, Sancte, blah blah blah, and there's no visceral experience, there's no connection there. It is a dead ritual, and to me, that to me feels like a sacrilege.
mhm.
That the dogmatification of a living teaching has been turned into this, and what it's producing is, identifiably child abuse, the Inquisition, you know
Spades.
yeah, like the annihilation and murder of millions of indigenous peoples the world over. Um, and the Catholics that I know, again, and I'm generalizing here, I'm making a gross generalization, but I don't see a lot of enlightened Catholics. I don't see a lot of Catholics leading lives that I want to emulate. And so for me, it's like and again, I could talk shit about almost any religion and almost any tradition. And we should be able to speak about these things. We should, dare I say, be able to even criticize Muhammad and these things. But it's always interesting when it's like the rule is you can't criticize the thing. You just have to believe in it wholesale. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting, right? There's two angles at which the modern discourse is like fucking defanged and weak and wimpy and flabby and flaccid. One angle is you can't stand for a truth that is absolutely true that would negate the possibility of all other perspectives being true. We're tolerant of all religions except for one that believes in its own strength and courage and has big enough balls to say, no, actually, we are the true path. Because then that's exclusionary, that's satanic, that's evil, how disrespectful, how offensive. And then the other side is, well, you don't have the right to critique my perspective in general.
yeah,
If I don't have the right to confront your perspective, well, love confronts dysfunction. Fear comforts in dysfunction. I have nothing to fear from anyone at the level of soul. I mean, somebody could destroy the body. What is it Christ said? Do not fear those who can kill the body, but fear those who can destroy the soul.
yeah. And it feels like we should be very, very afraid right now, because I see and feel and have myself been quite soulless and rendered quite soulless from the way we're living and from these technologies that are being handed to us by, arguably, I would say, not arguably, I will declare this, given the system you've just shared, these 5 levels of consciousness from Jonathan England, squarely situated in that second orientation of that psychopathic billionaire who's trying to figure out the world so they can get theirs over the inclusion of others. There's a really interesting idea that the idea of Satan or the devil as a representation in the physical world is the um, the overgrowth of the hyper analytical, disembodied masculine thinking mind.
Hmm.
And it's portrayed in Paradise Lost. Um, Milton's great work. You see it in Faust. You see it in some of the traditional paragons of the English language, but really now represented in this sort of tech elite. And again, what is the what is the result of us using social media? What is it producing? What types of people is it producing? What type of culture is it producing? How is it affecting young women? How is it affecting young men? How is it actually affecting us? Because what it's been designed is as a Trojan horse to sell us things,
Mhm.
and we ourselves are the product. And this is not my opinion. This is the white pages of these what they've been designed to do, what they're literally doing. And there is goodness in them as well, because there's goodness in all things. But again, what are we actually up to here? And so I think you and I are presuming to use our voice, this platform, to start to sound some alarm bells and try to do so not simply from a pulpit or a soapbox, but from our own lived experience. And I'll speak for myself and let you speak for yourself, Lewis. But for me, the suffering and the burning and the annihilation that I've gone through in my own pursuit of trying to break free of this system of control that feels like it has me as well. That is, um, yeah, seemingly very anti-Christ, anti-Christian in the ideal of what it would be to live in a way that was Christ-like. And I'm not talking about the teachings of Paul, by the way. I'm talking about the teachings of Christ himself. Most of the Bible is Paul, who did not live during the lifetime of Christ. And so for me, I'm more interested in like what was this cat that got deified in 325 at the Council of Nicaea, turned from all that I can do, you can do, and more, into a son of God that must be worshipped. Very interesting, man. Very interesting. So again, for me, it's like, well, believe in whatever you want to believe, brothers and sisters. But like, what is it doing for you? What is it producing for you? What is the quality of the life that you're living? And that's what interests me. And I think that's what interests you as well,
So there's too many questions and too many
Lewis.
for us to actually address them all. And I've gotten it down to like three or four. And yeah,
Come
I'm
on, bro.
interested in people thriving and flourishing. And I think these five levels initially give
Exactly.
people direction on how to maximize thriving, hence why I offer them and dance with them on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, you should talk about what is Christ-like.
Mhm.
Paul,
That's a question
oh,
worth debating.
yeah, that's a whole conversation. I mean, like, because Paul had a direct experience, and to the degree we believe that, or he
Well,
claimed to.
he said he did.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I believe him. I don't think that he was straight up lying or trying to deceive or cult leader. I mean, there's a whole conversation there. But when we think about WWJD, Christ in the New Testament is also the one that bears a sword to kill the fucking unbelievers in the book of Revelation. So WWJD means send asteroids down to Earth and boils to the skin of those who take the mark of the beast. And I love the book of Revelation. I'm doing a weekly Bible study, both with my mom and publicly.
It's
Because,
the best trip journal around, man. You
well, I
should.
mean, you could say that. I mean, we don't know that there were psychedelics on Patmos where John was exiled, but maybe. And
I mean, that is yes, we don't know for sure. And we that's the thing, right? We don't know any of this for sure,
exactly.
which is
Yeah.
very important to remember when having these conversations, because the things that I encounter is, people are certain that this is the way things were, and there is simply no way you can be certain that that's the way things were. And I find when conversations are entered into from that perspective, out of curiosity rather than the need to defend a way of being, and that's what's I think it's important to remember that when we are online arguing with each other and hurling grenades and
Uh-huh.
fuck you, you're not this, or liberals or assholes or conservatives this, it's like, well, there's the perspective of us as human beings and where we're each coming from, which is colored from our own universal experience. And you said something earlier, though, there's only one of us here. which I agree with, but I only half agree with because I lived my life from that perspective, which is level 3, right? And you mentioned the peace prison, and I was in a peace prison for a long time, and I see that in a lot of the conscious community. It's like the fixation on there's only one of us here. Everything is perfect. Just
At the
it is.
same time that they're struggling with their bank accounts and their
Well,
poly
right,
relationships are
because
full of
it's
shit and their
true.
sex is
It's
perverse.
yes, exactly, my
Yeah.
friend. It's true, but it's only half true. Because what's also true is there are 7 billion of us here, and that I have a bank account and I have responsibilities, and I'm not as good as I could be right now. And I'm pretty great.
Yeah.
Can I hold both sides of the lightning? Can I hold both of those at the same time? Because what I see happening in our world and what's being used against us to divide us and conquer us is the bifurcation of no, it's this, no, it's that, no, it's this, when it's really both. It's like a functional constitutional republic requires liberals and conservatives working together. You need both. You need both in a way that can be in the inquiry of my orientation, Lewis, just as I feel your orientation, and why I wanted to have this conversation with you is that I feel both of us are our suprastructural organization is in deference to the truth.
Mhm.
I'm here to find the truth. I think, and I'm trying to live my life to a certain degree of things, but I'm probably wrong about a lot of things that I believe. And there's probably a better way I could be living my life. And I want to know that. And I don't want to prevent myself from being, humbled in that beautiful sense of like, oh, wow, I really thought this was true. And it sounds like maybe this is true. And to the degree I can listen to you and actually take you in and be in a conscious conversation, there's no ceiling for me. And there really was, because I was so ensconced in a position of this is this and this is this. And I'll end with this. There's a very old story that in the war in heaven, the Holy Grail was entrusted to the neutral angels. The Holy Grail was entrusted to the neutral angels. Fascinating, fascinating thing to chew on. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh wow, that's the whole story.
Oh, there's a lot more to the story. There's a lot more to the story. But that particular aspect. So for me, I would say I seek to find the very narrow bridge, as my Jewish brethren like to refer to it. That thin line down the middle, the world bridger, as is a common turn of phrase in the Amazonian traditions. Like, what is the Shashumnanadi in yoga, the line in the center, seeking that. That's I try to orient in that direction and notice my vacillations. And the more I vacillate, the more I tend to suffer. And so that which rises and falls is not me, say my Buddhist teachers. And so, yeah, man, I will finish by just saying thank you.
Oh man, you're so welcome, man. I mean, I was gonna take another 5 minutes or so,
Do it,
but
man. I've got, like I said, I've got another 14.
yeah,
So
let's do it. Let's do it
I'm
because I got.
feeling it, bro. I'm feeling, as long as you don't mind me taking a little bite of my homemade frittata here.
Oh, not at all, not at
As
all.
much as I try to live my life in connection with the divine, I still must eat.
What, you're not breatharian? You're
That's the
getting all of your.
goal. That's the goal, to get to the point. Why? I mean, steak is so good.
Yeah, yeah,
Frittatas are
yeah.
so
For
good.
me, it was barbecue tempeh earlier this week, was
Oh,
just so good. Anyway,
I
uh,
grew up vegetarian, man. I can't even, like, just thinking about tempeh and tofu.
I'm,
That's for
I,
you, mom. I love
I
you. I
will
love you, mom.
absolutely. You have a 6 and I have a 9 when it comes to diet, and I honor those.
There we go, man. There we go. Talk to me, Goose. Talk to me. What's
So,
next?
so there's 3 questions that I'd like to have us answer
Fuck yeah.
in the end here. Well, actually 2 questions, and then I've got a statement.
Mm.
Because you say you want truth, and there's I've been recently made restless. The that same Gospel of Thomas.
Oh,
Um,
come at me, man. Come
yeah,
at me,
the
bro.
text of
Yes.
it says something like, let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished and he will rule over the all, capital A. And so
Mm.
I've been troubled by something, and I guess I'll start with that. Um,
What troubles you, brother?
there was an atheist journalist
Mm.
whose wife famously converted to Christianity, and he was a brilliant like researcher and writer. And he said, "All right, you know what? I'm going to prove that all this shit is wrong. I'm going to prove it's false." And he spent 2 years
Jesus.
engaging with PhDs who spent decades
Yeah.
asking and answering questions beyond what our the structure of our individual careers would ever have us be interested in doing. Questions like, were the Gospels credible historical narratives and biographies written by eyewitnesses who actually lived close enough to the time for it not to be mythologically developed nonsense? And did Christ actually claim to be a deity in the 5,000 manuscripts of the New Testament and the Gospels that we see in the first couple centuries AD? And oh my gosh, did you know that we have more historical evidence for the existence and the nature of this guy who said, did, and taught crazy shit according to the Bioi, the ancient Greek biographies we have about him. We have more evidence for him than for fucking Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great's biographies were written later and in a more questionable fashion than the actual Gospels. And so
I
Lee
didn't know that.
Strobel, after 2 years, he was like, I can't ignore the truth. The case for Christ is so strong that I have to convert. I have to believe. Because
Mm.
Jesus was not made into a divinity in the Council of Nicaea. He claimed he was a divinity. He was worshiped as a divinity, and people died because they believed he had raised from the dead. And, we look at the evidence of medical doctors who look at what I believe to be the reliable historical documents of the New Testament, and they say, all right, he did not swoon. He did not. He, he's not a liar to the best of our ability to discern. He's not a lunatic. He doesn't show the signs of insanity. He's not a legend. The Case for Jesus by Brant Petrie really strongly argues against the stupid scholarship of Bart Ehrman trying to claim that. Really, really powerfully. So maybe he's who he said he was. Maybe he's the Lord. And yes, maybe we're here to do greater things than he did, for sure. And maybe he had an enlightenment experience, a direct experience of God that we can too. But I cannot just sit by because it's been torturous. It's absolutely been torturous because I'm the last person who wants to be a fucking Christian. I would love to continue to eat, drink, be merry, think for myself, philosophize, have great sex with people from Field and Tinder, when lines and
Yeah, man.
Christ don't like that. He does not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's not okay. You lose the kingdom of heaven according to what he says if
yeah.
you use your sexual energy in those ways. So that's a can of worms. That's not me proselytizing. That's me pointing to like what I'm fucking wrestling with and can't get over and am pissed off about.
Mm.
Like, do I want all that evidence to be there? No. Have I been reading the New Testament and writing WTF in the margins every couple pages? Yes, because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
But I guess in the face of that, what we could undoubtedly agree on is like men need other men in community and men need God. And I'm curious in
Mm.
what sense and to what degree, and what does that mean that we need each other to have more conversations like this in community, like the King's Code or like Make Love Easy? And
Mm.
to what degree does God support us? It doesn't have to be the God of the Bible, by the way,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
pursuing that highest thriving.
As far as I can tell, when it comes to men, there are three orientations that serve as a map, and it's a map that we use that we've encoded into the King's Code, which is purpose, brotherhood, and as one of my co-founders likes to say, God. I like to say something greater than ourselves.
It's all there in the code. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and again, right? It's like I spent the better part of a decade as a non-believer. I spent a non-believer. I want to be more specific. I I'll say this: I, like so many of us, let myself be carried off adrift in a sea of postmodernism, nihilism, and what it is that so many of us are. Why 130 men every day put a gun to their head? Because that is the most common way that men kill themselves. And it's because they're trying to shut the fuck off this thing in their mind, the outgrowth of the thinking mind, and its parasitic overthrow of the kingdom of God. And I say that metaphorically, which I believe lives in the heart.
Hmm. It is
And
real. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that is the orientation. That is the Christ orientation, is of the heart, the sacred heart. I don't need to know if he was an actual man, though I believe he was an actual man. And to me, it feels more exciting and powerful to think of him as a human born man like you and I, who said, what I can do, you can do, and more, than to envision him as the modern, as he is considered in the modern church, in that post Nicene Arian controversy, where he was, yes, he was already thought of as a divine being, as something greater than just a regular human being. It's not difficult for me to see him as greater than most human beings, like the apex of what a human being can do and become while alive. And to me, I hearken back to the Greek idea of an petanis prim petanis dentha petanis otan petanis, which is, if you die before you die, when you die, you will not die. This sort of what I feel has been co-opted in modern Christianity. You die and go to heaven, and there you'll be in the heavenly state. Fuck that. Die to yourself here. Die to the ego here in this life, so you can be reborn here as the greatest iteration of who you truly are. And I really believe that is what the second coming is all about. The awakening of that orientation inside everyday normal human beings who've been taught that it is above them, they can't possibly do that, and they need to worship a church that has pushed them away from their bodies, away from sacred sexuality and all these other types of things. So to finalize the question and how it relates to us as men in the world, what a beautiful model in the teachings of Christ, whether he was a real man or not, whether he was made up in an amalgam of different masters or a literal historical figure or not. To me, they're not irrelevant, but what I choose to put my attention on is connecting to the energy of what it would be like, kind of to come full circle here. What would it be like if I lived my life as Christ? If I lived my life from his literal teachings, to turn the other cheek, to feed the poor, to be oriented in certain ways of, dare I say, what would you say, compassionate action, radical integrity, nonviolence, sacred service, and the process of inner awakening. And that's the thing for me, is the nonviolence piece. Post Council of Nicaea 325, Constantine adopts the symbol of the Cairo because he has that vision of Christ coming to him, and then he wins the famous battle. Christ doesn't help people win fucking wars. That's not that to me. It's like the shifting of Christ into imperial Rome, because all the legions were deserting because they were becoming Christian. The warriors of Rome that made Rome the powerhouse that it was militarily in the world were starting to adopt this nonviolent form of Christianity, and they couldn't have that. Think about it. The entire Roman Empire changed religions. It's like as if the United States adopted Islam as its national language. It's that bananas. But they did. So they could shift it and use it. And the very people that murdered Christ took his teaching and shifted it to be able to functionally create a worldview and orientation that, again, to me, seems somewhat inferior to a earlier rendition of what it would mean to live your life according to the teachings of Christ, rather than the interpretations of his teachings by someone else. And that's all we have. We have interpretations, and like you said, 5,000 different scrolls and all these things. So it's like, for me, we're arguing about things we can't possibly prove or disprove. So the proof in the pudding, and this is why we don't advertise about the King's Code. If you go to our website, there's no video of like guys screaming and like in the workshop and getting to see, because for us, the result of the advertising for the King's Code are the men that come out of the program, the transformation that happens embodied. And so for me, I talk to people all the time that claim to be Christian, and I feel the quality of the energy, and I see the way they hold themselves, and I see the things they say and do in the world.
What a face.
Mm.
Yeah, one of
Yeah.
the biggest arguments against Christianity for most people is Christians.
Well, that was Nietzsche's greatest criticism. There was only one Jesus and he died, or sorry, there was only one ever. What did he say? There was only ever one Christian and he died on the cross.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, this is what a wonderful conversation. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity, and I hope that this conversation inspires people to do what I believe Christ taught, which was to eliminate uh, any middlemen between you and the divine, to cast out the priesthood and have your own embodied experience of the divine. And you can do that through other people. You can, whether that's a pastor at a church or a psilocybin facilitator. It's like,
A Good
there are
Friday
different ways.
experiment. Yeah.
Yeah, but come to your own embodied experience rather than following teachings that haven't been put to the test by you.
Yeah, because the dead letter killeth, and if we are not ourselves
Yeah,
embodied in Christ, then there is no reason for having a conversation about it or him.
my man.
If grace is not awakened in our heart and awakening us to serve better and to thrive more, then what's the purpose of it?
There you go, brother.
So that said, I know you got to go. It's been awesome having you. Thank you for this conversation. What a blessing and a gift and a
Truly,
pleasure.
truly, truly, truly. Yeah, well, we might just have to do it again sometime.
Indeed. Indeed, I'm open to
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. And again, just to end as we began, just with a little, just in the spirit of what we're talking about. Thank you for this opportunity, and may these words serve those who listen to pursue their own greatness and to wake up, as I myself am trying and struggling and trying and struggling. And there is a place to get to. There really is. And there's always work to be done. And there is a place to get to. And there is work to be done. And so may this serve, man. May this serve. And thank you for the work you do, brother. It's been an honor.
You're so welcome, man.
Hmm.
And for
Sure.
all those listening and watching, please like, share, subscribe, comment. We love you. Go make love easy, y'all.
Yes, please.